My name is Vanessa O'Brien, and I was 30 years old when my fiancé publicly asked hundreds of strangers whether he should marry me. I answered him. He just didn't expect me to mean it. It happened 4 months ago on an ordinary Thursday evening. I was sitting at our kitchen table with my laptop open, paying the final $3,200 deposit to our wedding caterer. Beside me sat a color-coded spreadsheet containing everything from vendor contracts to guests' dietary restrictions. Derek and I had been engaged for 8 months. He was 29, charming when he wanted to be, and capable of making an entire room believe he was the most considerate man alive. I had mistaken that charm for kindness for almost 4 years. My phone buzzed beside the laptop. I expected stupid games, too much whiskey, and maybe photographs I could tease him about later. Instead, when I opened the live stream, I saw my future collapsing in real time. Derek was sitting in the center of the living room wearing a black sash that read, "Groom's Final Weekend." Logan held the camera. More than 200 people were watching. Derek's cheeks were flushed. A half-empty bottle rested between his knees. "Real question," Logan slurred. "You're getting locked down next month. How does that feel?" Derek stared into the camera and smiled. "Vanessa's great," he said. "She's so stable." He said the word as though stability were a disease. The men around him laughed. "She pays every bill before it's due," Derek continued. "Her car is always clean. She remembers garbage day." Someone shouted from behind the camera, "But is she fun?" Derek leaned closer. "That's the problem. She plans these elaborate dates and gets so excited about them. Meanwhile, I'm sitting there wondering when I can go home." He performed an exaggerated yawn. The room erupted. My fingers went cold against the phone. 2 weeks earlier, I had driven 3 hours after work to surprise him with dinner at the restaurant where we had our first date. He had kissed my forehead and told me it was the most thoughtful thing anyone had ever done for him. Now, he was using that memory as a punchline. Logan laughed. "Doesn't she check herself in every mirror?" "Oh, constantly," Derek replied, "as though the lines around her eyes are going to disappear if she stares hard enough." More laughter. For months, Derek had told me those tiny lines made me look warm, trustworthy, beautiful. Apparently, compliments were another performance. Then he lowered his voice. "And don't get me started on bed." The laughter sharpened. My stomach dropped before he said another word. "She tries so hard," Derek continued, "but it's almost sad. I fake being satisfied half the time so she won't ask what's wrong." Logan nearly dropped the phone from laughing. Comments flooded the screen. "Run while you can. Don't marry her. Stable girls are the worst." I could hear my refrigerator humming behind me. A car passed outside. Somewhere in the building, a dog barked. Yet inside my body, everything had gone silent. Derek lifted his drink toward the camera. For one terrible second, I almost closed the live stream, almost convinced myself that he was drunk, performing for his friends, saying things he didn't mean. Then someone yelled, "What about Marissa?" Derek's face changed. His eyes lit up. "Oh, Marissa." I knew that name. Marissa Davis worked in his company's marketing department. I had met her twice at office parties. She had always smiled too brightly at me and touched Derek's arm whenever she laughed. Derek leaned back, enjoying the attention. At the company retreat last month, she came to my hotel room after midnight. My thumb moved before I consciously decided anything. I started screen recording. Derek described the hotel, the drinks, and how Marissa had slipped out before breakfast. Logan shouted, "Best night of your life!" Derek raised his bottle. "Better than anything waiting for me at home." The men cheered. On my laptop, the caterer's payment confirmation was still visible. Payment successful. $3,200. I stared at the message while the man I was supposed to marry confessed to cheating on me before an audience. Then something inside me switched off. Not my love for him, That would take longer. It was the part of me that kept searching for explanations. I typed 2 words into the live stream from my real account, beneath my real photograph. Don't bother. The comment stopped for half a second. Derek leaned toward the screen. His smile vanished. I ended the recording, saved it in 3 different places, and closed Instagram. My heart wasn't racing. I felt an unnatural calm, the kind that arrives after a storm has already torn the roof away, and there is nothing left to protect. The wedding was 4 weeks away. I had perhaps 12 hours before Derek returned and tried to rewrite what I had witnessed. So I began with the venue. I messaged our coordinator. Deborah, this is Vanessa O'Brien. Please consider this formal notification that I am canceling the wedding scheduled for October 12th. I understand the deposit is non-refundable. Please confirm receipt. Then I contacted the caterer. The $3,200 payment I had made 20 minutes earlier was gone, but I refused to let that loss purchase another day of humiliation. Next, I opened our wedding spreadsheet, copied every record into my personal drive, and removed Derek's editing access. After that came the accounts. Derek and Logan ran a small invitation and social media design business. For the past year, they had used my premium Canva and Adobe subscriptions while charging clients for their work. I changed both passwords and revoked every shared device. Then I removed Derek from my Amazon account, where my credit card had somehow become the default payment method for his protein powder, shoes, electronics, and late-night impulse purchases. My phone began ringing. Logan. I ignored it. A message appeared. Vanessa, call me immediately. What did you do? Derek just received an email from the venue. Another followed. This was a joke. You're destroying his life. I poured myself a glass of water and stared at those words. I wasn't destroying Derek's life. By midnight, Derek had called 53 times. His voicemails moved from confusion to fury. You embarrassed me in front of everyone. You had no right to cancel without talking to me. You're proving everything I said about you. That last message almost made me laugh. The next afternoon, I heard his key scrape against the lock. Derek entered, dragging his suitcase, still wearing the clothes from the live stream. Logan followed behind him. Derek looked exhausted, but beneath the exhaustion was anger. Clean, entitled anger, as though he had returned to discipline an employee. You have 5 minutes to explain yourself, he said. I was sitting on the couch with a book in my lap. Explain what? The venue, the caterer, the spreadsheet, our accounts. You asked whether you should marry me. Logan stepped forward. He was drunk. People exaggerate when they're drunk. Then he can explain the exaggeration to his employer. Derek's eyes narrowed. You wouldn't. I placed my phone on the coffee table with the camera facing upward. I recorded everything. For the first time, neither of them spoke. Then Derek's shock hardened into rage. You were spying on me. You broadcast it publicly. You humiliated me by commenting. You mocked my body, our private life, and every loving thing I ever did for you. Then you confessed to cheating while strangers laughed. I didn't humiliate you, Derek. I ended the show. His breathing changed. Logan moved between us as though he were protecting Derek from me. You're acting insane, he said. You can't control everything just because your feelings got hurt. I'm not controlling you. You're free. Derek stared at me. The words seemed to frighten him more than shouting would have. Logan pointed a finger toward my face. You haven't won. Derek has rights, and we'll make sure you regret this. I picked up my phone and showed him the recording symbol. Next time you threaten someone, don't do it on camera. Logan's face went pale. Derek disappeared into the bedroom and returned with an overnight bag. He stood at the doorway, waiting for me to stop him. I didn't. Come on, he told Logan loudly. Let's go somewhere I'm actually wanted. The door slammed behind them. For the first time in months, the apartment felt peaceful. Vanessa, Isaac said, his voice heavy with disappointment. My son says you had some kind of breakdown over a harmless joke and canceled the wedding without warning. I looked at the saved live stream on my phone. Derek had already begun rewriting history. But this time, I had receipts. Isaac, I said quietly, do you have 15 minutes? Isaac didn't interrupt me once. He listened while I explained exactly what had happened, from the live stream to the public insults, the confession about Marissa, and Derek's question asking strangers whether he should marry me. When I finished, there was only silence. Finally, he sighed. Vanessa, that doesn't sound anything like what Derek told me. It isn't. Do you have proof? I recorded the entire live stream. Another pause. An hour later, my phone rang again. Isaac. Sounded like a different man. Jesus, Vanessa, he whispered. I'm so sorry. He struggled to find words. He told us it was harmless teasing. He never mentioned the cheating, never mentioned humiliating you, never mentioned those comments about your appearance or your private life. You don't owe me an apology. No, Isaac replied quietly. But my son does. For the first time since everything happened, someone from Derek's family wasn't trying to explain away his behavior. Isaac was ashamed. I thought I raised him better than that. His voice cracked. I'm going to have a very serious conversation with him. That conversation apparently changed everything inside his family. Unfortunately, Derek learned absolutely nothing. I opened my entertainment cabinet. My stomach tightened. All 4 of my PlayStation controllers were gone, not just the regular ones. The 2 limited edition controllers I had spent months hunting down were missing too. Derek had taken them when he packed his things. It wasn't about the money anymore. It was about spite. I drafted a formal email. Derek, you are welcome to collect your personal belongings. However, you removed 4 PlayStation controllers that belong to me, including 2 limited edition models. They must be returned immediately. Additionally, your half of this month's rent, $1,100, is now 7 days overdue. Both of us remain legally responsible under the lease until one of us is formally removed. Please return my property and fulfill your financial obligations. 10 minutes later, my phone exploded. How dare you email my father? Derek shouted the moment I answered. Are you calling about the controllers or the rent? You kicked me out. No, Derek. You walked out. I'm not paying rent for somewhere I don't live. You're still on the lease. You're trying to ruin my life. No, I answered calmly. I'm trying to protect my credit score. He slammed the phone down. I finished making my coffee. Amazing how peaceful mornings became once I stopped arguing with someone who believed accountability was cruelty. Still, one decision remained. The live stream recording. Deleting it would certainly make life easier. But every time I considered doing that, I remembered Derek laughing while discussing Marissa. He hadn't simply cheated. His company had strict policies regarding workplace relationships during corporate events. He had confessed publicly. I composed one more email. To Human Resources, I am providing video evidence involving 2 employees, Derek Miller and Marissa Davis, discussing inappropriate conduct that occurred during a recent company retreat. The attached recording contains their own statements. Please review as appropriate. I attached the recording. Then I pressed send. Consequences didn't arrive immediately, but they were finally moving. 3 days later, another surprise appeared at my apartment. Derek's mother. Isabel marched toward my front door wearing oversized sunglasses and enough confidence for 3 people. The moment I opened it, she began shouting, "He was joking! You've embarrassed him. You canceled an entire wedding because your feelings got hurt." She barely paused for air. My poor son has been crying for days while you're sitting here acting self-righteous. I waited until she finally stopped. Then I asked one question. Did Derek show you the recording? She frowned. What recording? The live stream. I don't need to watch anything. I know my son. I slowly took out my phone and dialed Isaac. He answered on the second ring. Isaac, I said, your wife is outside my apartment accusing me of destroying Derek's life. There was complete silence. Then his voice hardened. Put her on. I handed Isabel the phone. She smiled confidently. Isaac, sweetheart, I'm simply trying to… Her expression changed within seconds. Her smile disappeared. Even standing several feet away, I could hear Isaac raising his voice. You watched the video? No. Then stop defending behavior you haven't even seen. She tried interrupting him. He spoke even louder. You are going home, right now. But he's our son. Our son publicly cheated on his fiancé. Another pause. He humiliated Vanessa in front of hundreds of people. Isabel looked toward me, completely stunned. I didn't know. No, Isaac answered. You never bothered to find out. The call ended. She handed me the phone without meeting my eyes. I still think you overreacted, she muttered weakly before walking away. The confidence she'd arrived with had completely disappeared. Later that evening, my phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't Derek. Logan had created a group chat called Support Derek. According to him, I was controlling, manipulative, vindictive, and emotionally abusive. Because I refused to forgive a drunken mistake. The comments poured in. Poor Derek. She's so cold. She destroyed his future. I ignored every single one. Instead, I logged into my Canva and Adobe accounts one last time. Apparently, Derek and Logan had several client projects due that week. Without my subscriptions, they couldn't access any of the files. Minutes later, Logan began texting. Vanessa, please. We have deadlines. Our clients are furious. You're hurting innocent people. I stared at the messages. Then I blocked his number. They had called me boring, stable, predictable. 2 days later, Isaac called again. I've spoken to Derek, he said tiredly. He refuses to apologize. That doesn't surprise me. I've arranged a meeting. A meeting? At a diner. Neutral ground. For what? To return your controllers. To settle the rent. To remove him from the lease. And to close this chapter before it becomes even uglier. I looked out my apartment window. Part of me wanted to refuse, to disappear forever and never hear Derek's name again. But another part knew unfinished business had a way of following people. Fine, I finally answered, but I'm only there for my property and the financial issues. That's all I expect. 3 days later, I walked into the diner. Derek was already sitting there. He looked exhausted. His expensive haircut had grown messy. For the first time since our engagement ended, he didn't look like the confident man from the live stream. He looked like someone realizing that applause from strangers lasted only a few seconds, while consequences could last forever. Isaac had already ordered coffee for everyone. No one touched it. Without saying a word, he slid a shopping bag across the table toward me. These belong to you. I opened it. All 4 PlayStation controllers were inside, including the 2 limited edition ones. I checked each carefully before setting the bag beside my chair. Derek rolled his eyes. They're just controllers. Derek! Isaac said sharply. Enough! For the first time, Derek actually looked away. Isaac placed another envelope on the table. You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did. He turned toward his son. You clearly weren't going to. Derek folded his arms. She ruined our wedding. No, Isaac answered. You ruined your wedding. Silence settled over the table. Isaac continued. I've also paid the landlord to remove Derek from the lease. Derek looked genuinely offended. So now I'm homeless? You're 30 years old, Isaac replied. You're responsible for where you live. Derek laughed bitterly. Everyone keeps acting like I'm some criminal because I made a joke. I finally spoke. No. You're facing consequences because you humiliated your fiancé, admitted to cheating, then expected your life to continue exactly as before. His jaw tightened. Instead, he changed targets. What about my tux? What about the bachelor party? What about everything I spent? I calmly removed a folder from my bag. I paid every non-refundable deposit. The caterer, the photographer, the band, our honeymoon in Italy, the engagement ring. Derek stared at the paperwork. I paid for my wedding suit. He muttered. You still own it. You're going to reimburse me? No. You can sell it. He leaned forward. And the ring? Yes. What about it? You're actually selling it? Yes. His expression finally cracked. That ring was supposed to mean forever. I looked directly into his eyes. It did. You're the one who decided forever wasn't worth protecting. Isaac slowly closed his own folder. I think we're finished here. Nobody argued. Nobody asked for another chance. We simply stood up. Outside the diner, Isaac stopped me before I reached my car. Vanessa, I turned. I don't expect you to forgive my son. I won't. He nodded sadly. I figured. But I hope someday you can remember that not everyone in his family approved of what he did. I smiled faintly. I already know. He hugged me. It felt less like saying goodbye to a future father-in-law, and more like saying goodbye to someone who had quietly become family despite everything. That was the last time I ever saw Derek. Over the following months, news reached me without my asking. HR completed its investigation. The live stream, combined with Derek's public confession regarding Marissa, violated multiple company policies. Apparently, management had already received complaints after the company retreat. The recording simply confirmed everything. Marissa ended their relationship almost immediately. According to mutual acquaintances, she blamed Derek for making everything public. He blamed her for encouraging him. Neither accepted responsibility. Logan didn't fare much better. The live stream spread far beyond the original viewers. Screen recordings circulated through our mutual friends, co-workers, and even extended family. People stopped seeing him as the funny best man. Instead, they saw the man laughing while another person's dignity was being destroyed. Ironically, Logan and Derek eventually turned on each other. Derek insisted the live stream had been Logan's idea. The friendship collapsed exactly the way our engagement had. Loudly. Isaac kept his promise. He cut Derek off financially. No more emergency money. No more rescued rent payments. No more safety net. You're an adult, he reportedly told him. Live like one. Derek drifted between friends' apartments before eventually renting a tiny place on the other side of town. He found another job months later, earning far less than before. From what I heard, he still told anyone willing to listen that I had ruined his life. That always made me smile. I hadn't ruined anything. I had simply stopped protecting him from the consequences of his own decisions. As for me, the apartment slowly became home again. The silence no longer felt lonely. It felt peaceful. I sold the engagement ring. The honeymoon reservations couldn't be refunded, so instead of canceling the trip, I boarded the flight alone. Italy looked nothing like the future I had imagined. It looked better. I wandered through Florence without checking my phone every 5 minutes. I watched sunsets along the Amalfi Coast. I ate dinner whenever I wanted. For the first time in years, every decision belonged only to me. One evening, while sitting beside the water with a glass of wine, my phone buzzed. It was Isaac. Just one message. I hope you're finding some peace. I looked out across the sea before replying. I already have. Sometimes people ask whether I regret ending everything so suddenly, whether I should have talked to Derek first, whether relationships deserve another chance. He asked hundreds of strangers if he should marry me. I simply gave him the first honest answer anyone in that live stream was willing to say, and it became the best decision of my life.